Yes, yes. Uh, uh, Listen for the breakdown. Yes, yes, yes. Shout to Philip P. He knows who he is out there. He's the one to put together that nice little jam for us for the intro. We are the Hot Minutia. I am Barry Long the second, not the first, not the third. We are live on CoachellaValley.com, live on today's California.com, live on today's Canada.com. We are live all over the Twitterverse, all over the metaverse, all over the universe. We appreciate for everybody tuning in. Let me bring in my main man, Rudy Ramon Reyes. Rudy, how you doing, brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. How are you? It's a little rainy out here.
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. As you can see, I'm a little bit, on the dressier, fresher side today. You're on a little more casual side today, so we're rocking with it.
Got to reel it in.
Hey, we already got a comment from Kayanyan Roberto. Not really sure how to say your name, brother, but he says thank you for your feedback. Not sure what kind of
union.
Shout out to my man. But we are the Hot Minutia. We are the sports show. The Hot Minutia means basically the minute details, the intricacies, all the little things that go into being great, and that happens in a lot of sports. And we're here to discuss the top sports stories and the top sports events. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about. Going on. Yeah, we got the NBA playoffs that are going on right now that are heating up. We have, the Brooklyn Nets are down 0-2. We want to discuss the Celtics and whether or not we think that they're going to be viable candidates to win it all. We also want to discuss what's going on with the Phoenix Suns and Devin Booker. Now that he's re-injured that hamstring that he's had so many problems with before, can they get it done? We also wanted to talk a little bit about the Mavericks. Luka Doncic has now been ruled out for Game 3 of that series, so he has not been able to, participate in 3 of those games, and they're going to be critical games. So we want to talk about that, and we got a little football to talk as well. Talk Deebo Samuel. Assis says, great. Thank you, brother. We appreciate your love and your feedback. We are live right here on CoachellaValley.com. Rudy Reyes and Barry Long with a Hot Minutia. All right, let's jump right into it, sir. Let's talk about what we saw yesterday between the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics. Now, the Boston Celtics have looked really, really good these first 2 games of the series. The first game, we saw Jason Tatum hit a game-winning layup, and they won by 2 points. And we saw the second game, Kevin Durant came up very short. He came up small. He was 4 of 17 shooting. 4 of 17 shooting. And you also had Kyrie Irving, who was 4 of 13 shooting. So they both combined on 8 of 30 from the field. They had a great performance from role players such as Goran Dragic. They had, Seth Curry step up yesterday, as well as Bruce Brown, who scored in the high double digits. So they had some role players play big, but the 2 superstars who were the ones that, kind of put this team together, they came up small. And we saw that the defense from the Boston Celtics is smothering. Not only do they have the Defensive Player of the Year and Marcus Smart, they also have a pretty good guy defensively in Jaylen Brown and a pretty good guy in Jason Tatum. They've got no Robert Williams in this series, but they've got a guy named Grant Williams who's coming off the bench, filling in beautifully. I love what they're doing. I love what Coach Udoka is doing with this team. The Brooklyn Nets have not made any adjustments in the second half the way that they probably should have. Steve Nash is getting thoroughly outcoached. And right now, they say the cliche is that the series doesn't start until a team loses at home. So the Brooklyn Nets have lost two games on the road. They haven't lost a game at home yet. But at this point, I'm looking at the Brooklyn Nets saying that they're done. And we may see Ben Simmons come back in the series, and that may have a little bit of stuff. That may have a little bit of help for them defensively, because obviously they keep giving up over 110 points.
We're this conversation about Ben Simmons. Look, Kevin Durant with 27 points.
I'm saying the Brooklyn Nets are done. What say you, Rudy Reyes?
They are beyond done. They're beyond done. They're beyond done. They shouldn't even be in this contest because they keep wondering when Ben Simmons is going to actually show up to be a role player in this entire net system. The saddest part is that Ben Simmons himself is done. There is no mental health equals mental wealth. This is all about them losing their ability to defend. I mean, you think 42 minutes for Kevin Durant would have been enough to score more than 27 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. Unfortunately, it is not. And the saddest part of all is that when you look at the system that they're surrounded by, with Steve Nash being their head coach, it's almost as if, why? Why are they being outcoached? Why is Steve Nash, who is a for sure Hall of Famer, as a player.
As a player.
Exactly. Who finds himself in an 0-2 situation going back to Brooklyn. Look, in some cases, home field advantage, home court advantage, home golf advantage, whatever advantage that you want, the advantage would have been Ben Simmons playing in this series from the onset. Unfortunately, his ramp-up period has been nothing short of a big fluke. Acquiring him is a big fluke. And to be quite honest with you, even if he was to show up, even if crossing toes and fingers, and if you have hair, which I don't have any of, you're going to find out that this guy is in lack thereof, a guy who's not going to be able to get it done, even on the defensive side of the ball. He's not the 2019 version that we keep talking about in Ben Simmons. This is 2022. And this is a one and done situation. Brooklyn doesn't get this win to at least get back in the series crawling, because we know we have to crawl before we can walk. Then unfortunately, the Nets will be crawling out with their heads between their legs as soon as this season is over, because it could end when they face off against the Celtics at home.
Yeah. And the thing about it is you've been high on the Celtics all season long, and I must give you your props, because there were times where I was like, man, why is Rudy so hyped on the Celtics? And real quick, we got comments already. Maria Lascuna, she says, hello, guys. Bill Cinso says, hi, Barry and Rudy. You know we love you, both of you guys, for always chiming in. But, yeah, so the Boston Celtics, you've been high on them all season long. And I think that even though they had the number 2 seed in this playoffs, it was kind of a sneaky number 2 seed. A lot of people didn't really know about the Celtics and how good defensively they can be and how smothering they can be. And if you watch what they were able to do against Kevin Durant, especially in the second half of last night's game, it was incredible. I mean, they got 2 guys on them. They're doubling them at times. Sometimes they got a guy helping out to coming into the lane. They've got guys that are just like, swiping at the ball. And they've got Kevin Durant looking flustered. They've got him looking uncomfortable. And he's not looking like the Kevin Durant that we've seen in the past. And he even said it himself that they're doing a really good job defensively on him. And I think that this is going to continue. This doesn't seem like something that he's just going to snap out of, like he's just having a bad shooting night or a couple bad shooting nights, or he's in a drought. It looks like he can be thoroughly defended by a team in Boston. And Boston is quietly, in my opinion, become the most defensive team in the NBA right now. They are the best, and especially as a collective group, they've got the number 1 guy, Marcus Smart. Perimeter defense is all on point. When they get Robert Williams back, if they do later on in the playoffs, they're going to be even more defensively so great. So I just think that Boston Celtics are really, it's more about the Boston Celtics being great than it is about the Brooklyn Nets, because we've seen the Brooklyn Nets. They've given up a lot of points this season, and that's all they do. They can score, but they got to outscore you in order to beat you. They can't shut you down defensively. And I feel like if they had Ben Simmons, then maybe, even though you got Jason Tatum on the other side and Marcus Smart is playing at a high level, not only defensively but offensively, I think that Ben Simmons could come in and help them shut down some of what the Boston Celtics are doing. So I think Ben Simmons coming back will be great for them. Joan Diamos says hello. But yeah, I just think that, man, if they go down 0-3, this series is over, and I think that Steve Nash should be on the hot seat.
Well, to be honest with you, this is Steve Nash's first opportunity as being an actual coach. Yeah, interim coach is one thing. Full head-time coach for an NBA organization, completely and entirely different. He has to shape and mold personalities to work together, to work amongst themselves. This has not been a place where fires are brewing until you add the candlestick, which was Ben Simmons coming back. At certain times, this team has been very frustrated with the fact alone that he's not ready, he's not able, he's not capable. Best ability is availability, and Ben Simmons has been more like the disability to this Nets team. Okay, he's getting paid whether he plays or not. And the sad part is that that's how Ben Simmons apparently likes it.
He's stealing money. He's stealing money.
He's a thief in the night. He's like the tooth fairy. Instead of taking the tooth, he takes the grill sitting on the side of your bed.
Ben Simmons is like the tooth fairy. I really didn't realize what. The tooth fairy gives you money, though, doesn't she? She steals teeth and she gives you money.
He's stealing just taking money. It's just like shoveling money. You see so many memes where people are just shoveling money out of the way. Everybody remembers the Little Rascals, or maybe they don't. But you see one of the key players just throwing money out of the window like it's nothing. Well, that's exactly what the Nets have done with this guy this whole entire, not really since the beginning of the season because he didn't come over until later on, but still, he's not providing anything whatsoever. And when he gives post-game commentary about what his thoughts are and his views upon how the Nets have played, oh, well, we're soft, or we're like margarine, or we're this, or we're that. Get on the court that you could actually have an opinion about how bad your team is playing right about now, because they're about to play themselves out of the playoffs, because they'll have a lot of time off to figure out whether or not they're going to play and come back next season. And Ben Simmons, in fact, does the very same thing. So the bottom line is Boston Celtics have not been really spoken about. I've been on their bandwagon from the onset, and I don't jump on many bandwagons. I can tell you that right now. My bandwagon left when LeBron James left the court, and could very well only have 1 year left and maybe a buyout or a trade to Cleveland waiting for Bronny. But at the end of the day, the Celtics have the best defense in the East. Bottom line, hands down, that's just the way it is. We see what happened last night against Milwaukee at home, lose against a very formidable Bulls team who just continues to smack them around with DeMar DeRozan, who has the ball in his hand, being able to get inside of the paint on guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo. So this guy, yes, I said his name right. Don't even go there with me. His name is right, and that's how it's pronounced.
You did it right. You said it right.
That's right, I did. So the bottom line is DeMar DeRozan is a magic man in the paint. He can make things disappear like the ball from his hands, and all you're going to see is net dropping from the bottom inside of the paint. They've been dominant. They have proven why they deserve to be here, and I foresee them possibly even running the table against Milwaukee, because don't forget, they have two players that are currently injured, and that's not going to help them whatsoever moving forward. Connaughton, I think, has a sprained MCL.
They had Bobby Portis get injured last night, got hit in one of his crazy eyes.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe he'll end up straight this time around. But at the end of the day, this Bulls team is not going away, but they do have losing records against winning teams. So when you look at what they did last night was pure and total full team offensive onslaught that will continue. It will continue. Will this go to 7? Maybe not. Maybe. It depends. They're missing pieces. They did, between Portis and Connaughton, both of those guys were part of that last year's championship run. So without them, without those two key elements, guys are going to have to step up and step up fast to be able to complement and help Giannis, not only inside, but to be the guy inside of the middle in order to make those points count in rebounds and points off turnovers.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that Giannis is a dominant force, one of the most dominant forces that we've ever seen in the NBA. We know that he also is going to need Chris Middleton, and he's going to need those shooters around him, and they're going to definitely need those role players like Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis played a huge role in their championship last year. He had a couple of big games where he was dominant on the offensive boards. He was dominant defensively. They had Connaughton, who comes in with his athleticism and his ability to play defense, and he's a key role player as well. So, yeah, I agree. I think that they're going to need both of those guys to win this series. I think that without those guys being 100% healthy, this definitely goes to at least 6 games. I feel like ultimately Giannis and Chris Middleton will be the 2 best players in this series when it counts the most. But I expect DeMar DeRozan to go off again. I mean, he went off for 41 points yesterday. I expect Zach LaVine to go off again. So I can see this series going 7 games
Vucevic
for sure, easily.
Vucevic hit from almost anywhere he wanted to shoot, and it was a team effort completely.
Yeah, it was. It really was. And I love what the Bulls have done this season, with just as how consistently they played. DeMar DeRozan, really stepping into his own as an all-star. But you have guys like Alex Caruso, who came in with 10 assists last night, and Lonzo Ball. Imagine if they had a healthy Lonzo Ball in this series. Then this series could easily be the Bulls series, because we've seen the Bulls have the best record in the NBA for quite a while this season. So I expect the series to go 7 games, but I just think ultimately Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton get it done down the stretch.
I think so. I can only hope that they really do a better job on the defensive side, and blocking out all those perimeter shooters, protecting the paint, being able to make the shift. Moving over to protect guys, preventing guys from driving inside of the lane, whether it's a left or right hand scoop to the bucket. I mean, there's a lot of things that the Milwaukee Bucks need to do. They need to correct it, and they need to correct it now. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long series. It's a drawn-out series, and I don't think Milwaukee wants that. In Western Conference, however, they're battling their own injury bug, the Phoenix Suns. When you're missing a guy like Devin Booker, who is 11-8 while he's in the starting rotation, which isn't overly bad. But when you think about the winning percentage at 0.7, above 700, that's a pretty good situation to be in. But without Devin Booker, they are very low at maybe over 500, barely over. So he's battling in MCL, a strained hamstring issue, which certainly is going to hamper their efforts. He's out 3 to 6 weeks. So he may not even be the guy to hoist that Larry O'Brien when it's all said and done, if in fact Phoenix finds a way to get it done without him. Again, role player is going to have to step up. There's going to have to be a deeper rotational pull. Chris Paul's going to have to essentially take control over this game with Devin Booker out.
And I don't see that happening. I see Chris Paul being able to take over some games. I see them being able to win this series. I see them, potentially getting to the Western Conference Finals. But I just think that without Devin Booker being healthy, it's over for the Phoenix Suns. And it's hard for me to say that because the Phoenix Suns, the franchise, the fan base, it's been a long time since they've experienced a winning culture the way that they have one right now. They were the best team in the NBA all season long. They had the best record in the NBA. They were by far the most well-oiled machine that we had in the NBA at a certain point this season. I mean, their chemistry together, just the way that they've been playing basketball and the way that they have role players step up like Cam Jordan and Cameron Payne and even Mikal Bridges. If you want to call him, although he's a starter, he's still a role player. He's a 3-and-D kind of guy. Jay Crowder. They got guys that knew their roles, knew where they fit in, and they get in where they fit in. And they were getting it in. And all of a sudden, Devin Booker, who is unquestionably their best player, is going out right now. And they only have two guys really that can go and get their own shot. You got Chris Paul that can go get his own shot, and Devin Booker who can go get his own shot. We see him drop 70 points. We've seen him be able to be a point guard at certain points of the season or certain points of his tenure with the Phoenix Suns, but he fits better at the two. But at the end of the day, without Devin Booker, they are dead in the water. And 3 to 6 weeks, that seems like it's going to be bad. I was hoping that it just looked like he didn't really injure. He didn't look like he tore his hamstring, but it definitely looked like he tweaked it. We've seen him go out, and be day-to-day with the hamstring injury. We've seen him miss a couple of weeks. Sure. But 3 to 6 weeks, I think that the Phoenix Suns they get past this series, but I don't think that this automatically makes them contenders to get to the Western Conference Finals. I think that this is a one and done for them. They win this series, this first series, and they're out in the second round.
Well, look, they can get it done, and don't forget the New Orleans Pelicans have essentially tied this series up. And I don't, for some reason, for the lack of understanding why Zion Williamson is still out, still continues to be the cheerleader on the bench, warming up the seat for the next guy, whoever that is. But he's a big guy. He's a big piece of this puzzle. And if they only had him, they'd be able to dominate and get that ball to him inside and to be one of the best centers that there are in the NBA, or at least in the current landscape in the playoff system. Unfortunately, he's not there. So the Pelicans, with the armament that they have, the type of players, the mentality, the underdog with CJ McCollum being able to basically call his own shot too, wherever he wants to shoot it from. I see the Pelicans making a series of this, but it's going to boil down to who wants it more. And the one team, the one player is going to make the least amount of mistakes. I think it's going to be Phoenix when it's all said and done. Whether or not they can get out of this round without any more injuries remains to be seen. I know Devin Booker is a guy who was ultimately Mr. Clutch, Mr. Reliable, and we've seen him almost comparable to guys like, Trey from the Atlanta Hawks. So,
yeah,
there's a lot of comparables between those two guys.
They can both get hot, and they both get hot. They can both be very cool.
Absolutely can, and they've done it. The problem that I have is that without Devin Booker, they're barely 500, and that is scary. I wonder what that looks like in a playoff situation. But you know what? We're going to find out what that actually looks like come the next game, obviously, against the Pelicans.
Absolutely. And the thing I worry about with the Pelicans is that they've got guys that can light it up as well. with C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram. And we saw Brandon Ingram, a guy who is long, who can score from the mid-range. He can hit the three when he needs to. He can bang on you, take it to the rim. Defensively, he's also a great player. And C.J. McCollum, we all know what he's capable of doing. So I think that this series is not a foregone conclusion that they win without Devin Booker as well. So I think that there's some serious issues in Phoenix. I wish we had the Suns and 4 guy like we had last year to really have a story that rallies around this team, and maybe we could see a magical run. But honestly, I think it's over. I think they might get past this next team with the Pelicans. I think they might get past the Pelicans, but if they do, they're done after that. Blim Blim. Never really heard of anybody named Blim Blim. I've heard of Bam Bam. I've heard of Bling Bling. But Blim Blim, shout out to her. She said she's right there with us. And we appreciate you, Blim Blim. Maria Lascuna, Will, Bill Senso, and Joan, and Assis. And
thank you guys for
Roberto.
All tuning in.
Shout out to Roberto as well. He is Rudy Ramon Reyes. I am Barry Long II. We are live on CoachellaValley.com. Live on today'scalifornia.com, live on today'scanada.com. We are live all over the Twitterverse, all over the metaverse, all over the universe. Now, real quick, we also saw another injury that's been happening with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Dallas Mavericks are in a series with the Utah Jazz, who haven't been playing the best basketball of their tenure with their superstar and Donovan Mitchell, as well as Rudy Gobert. And they've got some great role players as well. But the series is tied 1-1, and we'll see where it goes from there. But Luka Doncic has been ruled out for Game 3, and we have seen him been ruled out for the last 2 games. He sat out with that calf strain. We know what calf strains are connected to, the Achilles. We've seen how a calf strain, a calf injury can lead to a torn Achilles. It happened to Kevin Durant. It's happened to others as well in the past, Kobe Bryant being one of those. So we know that they should be taking this very seriously. We know that Luka Doncic's game is not predicated upon athleticism. So he really is not a guy that's going to bang all over you, but he is a guy that is going to need to stay healthy, and they need him for a long time. And he is supposed to be a long-term situation for this Dallas Mavericks team. He's going to be there probably the next 10 to 15 years, hopefully, if all goes well. But they're taking it slowly with him. I don't think they can get past the Jazz without Luka Doncic. What say you, Rudy Reyes?
That's really going to be tough because you have guys who can step up. I mean, you have your Rudy Goberts, you have your Donovan Mitchells, you have guys who can essentially stop you and stop runs with patient ball handling, being able to get to the rim, being able to score at will, being a willing passer when you're not going to be the shooter. And when you look at it like this, the Dallas Mavericks in context, 2-4 is their record and an average of 102, 103 points without Luka in the game. And of course, that goes up to the latter part of 2021, which is relatively indicative of what we see here in 2022. So they can win. They've shown that they can win without Luka Doncic. The bigger question is, how long can they go on winning without Luka Doncic in that lineup? And beyond that, what is his status? Right now, it's questionable, and it can continue to be questionable. So as long as he's on the side, as long as he's a guy who's sitting, albeit in the rehabilitation room, or if he's on the table, or wherever he might be, he needs to get better. He needs to work that out. And unfortunately, if he doesn't, it's going to be a very long off season for the Dallas Mavericks without Luka as a part of that lineup. But again, if for some reason they find a way to win, you have to appreciate that and enjoy the fact that the Mavs did it just the other night without Luka in the lineup. Can they do it again? That's a bigger question. And I think the largest question, the largest thing that I see for the Mavericks is, can they get around? Can they find a way to continue winning without Luka in the lineup if for some reason he's out an extended amount of time? That's my concern.
Yeah, and they did. They found a way the other night to get it done. They had Jalen Brunson, who was a star at Villanova, and he's been a great role player for this team the past few years. But he dropped 41 points, and that is an anomaly. I'm sorry. Jalen Brunson is a great player. He's a good player. He's not a great player. He's a good player. Yes. And he's had flashes of greatness at times. Right. But don't expect him to drop 41. If Jalen Brunson is going to be your number one player moving forward in the playoffs, there's no way in hell you get past the Jazz. I don't care if it was one game or not. I thought it was great for him. He dropped 41. I mean, that's a career high, especially in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, without Luka, they ain't getting past Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and I just don't see it happening. And we'll see how long they can get it done without him. I think that you want to take this one very, very carefully, very cautiously. Let Luka be as healthy as possible because you don't want to jeopardize the future for this playoffs, which you know damn well you're not going to win the West. So Maria Lascuna, she says, great discussion about the Suns. Yeah, I root for the Suns. I really like Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul has had such bad luck in the playoffs with the injuries that he had with Lob City. Yeah. Before that, he was supposed to be with that Kobe Bryant Lakers team. That trade got nixed. And he's just had opportunities after opportunities where he's gotten close, but it always seems to be the injury bug with Chris Paul. And this is kind of like indicative of what happened with Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin sometimes got injured and ended their runs with Lob City. So, Devin Booker going down, it just seems like it's just going a microcosm of what's happened in Chris Paul's entire career. Now, real quick, let's talk about some NFL before we get out of here, because we gotta get out of here at the 30-minute mark today. Deebo Samuel. Now we've heard he reportedly wants out of San Francisco. We want to know what is the best landing spot for Deebo Samuel. I will ask you that first, Rudy Reyes. Where do you think Deebo Samuel belongs? Because he clearly, through his agent and through his camp, does not want to be a 49er next season.
Well, when you look at the extent for which he wants out, I don't believe necessarily that it's all about the money, maybe a 10% probability. And here's why. Because he is used in multiple capacities in that John Harbaugh, not John Harbaugh, I keep confusing John Harbaugh when he was the coach for the 49ers. They didn't have a Deebo Samuels in, but I bet you he wished he did. But when you look at the Shanahan system, now that Deebo is the all-utility guy, he finds a way to ultimately be the guy. He's outworked Devontae Adams, who got his payday. He outplayed and outworked Tyreek Hill to get the money that Tyreek Hill ended up getting. Deebo wants a piece of that pie as well. He wants out of San Francisco, not because of the money necessarily, but because of the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is in the offseason with a shoulder surgery, very questionable as to whether or not he's going to be the best version of himself headed into 2022. And then secondly, you have an unproven Trey Lance behind Jimmy Garoppolo, and he doesn't know whether or not he can play with either one of these guys. On top of that, add salt to injury, if you will, he doesn't want to be the utility knife. He doesn't want to be the guy known as an RB slash or slash in general. He wants his wide receiver designation, and he has every reason to want that. Now peep on this. In the first 2 years with the Niners, he was okay in year one, banged up a lot in year two, and had a breakout season in year three. I would suspect that Deebo Samuels will end up wanting to trade, and the best spot for him is in Kansas City.
Woo!
They don't have Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill goes on to play for the Miami Dolphins, and there you go. Case solved.
I think that would be a great landing spot for him. I also feel like, he should be whatever he wants to be. If he wants to be a damn running back, let him be a running back. If he wants to be a damn wide receiver, let him be a damn wide receiver. I think that he is best utilized as that Swiss Army knife. But I was thinking about it today, and I was like, okay, Dallas, there's been a lot of talk that Dallas would be interested. I think Green Bay is a good spot. They lost Devontae Adams. They went out and got Sammy Watkins, who is a different type of player. He's more of a possession receiver at this point of his career. And Deebo Samuel's a guy that's kind of got a little bit more speed, and you can also put him at the running back position. And, Aaron Jones is not going to be, a full gone conclusion that he is just the main guy that they're going to have in the fullback or in the backfield. I think that Deebo Samuel will be a good change of pace for him. So I feel like, Aaron Rodgers needs weapons at this point, and I feel like the Packers losing out on Devontae Adams, they're gonna need to punch and plug in any holes that they have, and this is certainly one at the wide receiver position. So I like him going to Green Bay, and I think that would be a good landing spot for him. Tyler Annabella says, "Great show. Thank you, Tyler. Oh, it's a girl named Tyler. I like that." All right, real quick, let's do the meme of the day because we got to get out of here.
Killing me, man.
This is funny. This is pretty. I love the NFL because both of these humans play the same sport professionally. You see on the right, that is freaking DK Metcalf, who looks like a Marvel character without his shirt on, and on the left is Rodrigo Blankenship, who is the kicker for the Colts, and that's just a great meme right there. But yeah, both of these guys are in the
fantastic
NFL.
Contrast right there, big time.
Real quick, Rudy, let them know where they can find you at, boss.
Sure, absolutely. At Rude Dog Reyes on Twitter. You can go to Facebook, find same name. You can go to LinkedIn, same name. You can go to Instagram, Rudy Reyes on IG, and you can find me basically anywhere. This episode, and I'm going to make my concerted efforts to put this show along with the others on the RudeDogShow.com under the Hot Minutia. So stay tuned and check in there whenever you want.
Absolutely. You can find my name written on Facebook the same way it is here, Barry Long II, and on Twitter at Barry Long II, and I'm on IG at Barry Long _2. Remember, stay focused, stay motivated, stay inspired, and remember you're capable of doing anything. So go out and do it. And this is the Hot Minutia. He's Rudy Reyes. I'm Barry Long. We appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Peace. Thank you so much. Take care.